Hello all, Mike Heck here with the Hyperactive Hypercube build vlog. I had hoped to show you me putting together the Bowden extruder for the Hyperactive Hypercube. Unfortunately, Amazon has let me down in that my delivery for that particular piece of equipment never came today. Hopefully, it will be with the proximity sensor that's supposed to be tomorrow, and I'll be able to give a print as of Sunday or Monday. Um, the cube is actually performing very well. I can move things around. I can move the head back and forth. I'm very impressed with the smoothness of the print head and how it moves. So hopefully, with the induction sensor being put in, the one that I ordered is from Amazon, and it is one that's supposed to go at 5 volts, be powered at 5 volts, and return at 5 volts with no problem. I went with the 8mm sensor because I would really like to, at some point, get myself something like this, which is a flex steel build plate. But I'm not finding many places that do a 400 by 400 flex steel. So if you have suggestions for me, what other than Wham Bam, which is offering a 400 by 400 for about 150 for the magnetic, the build plate, and the sheet on top of it, I would appreciate it. I'm again trying to keep this build as low cost as possible. I am hoping that if Amazon comes through for me tomorrow and delivers the items that I've ordered, that by Sunday I'll be able to build or do a benchy. And for those that don't know, this is a benchy. It has letters and numbers underneath. You can't see it on this one very well. And it's basically a tiny little boat that allows us to see whether or not the actual printer is functioning. Once I print that out, I will then move on to other things such as uh, the jetpack that I've downloaded from Thingiverse and other Mandalorian armor. As I said in the last update, I've taken and created my own bucket and then taken the cheek plates off of another couple designers' designs for my own Mandalorian bucket. Hopefully that will work well. If it all works well and this thing performs as well as I think it will, which means that it'll be printing at 200 plus millimeters per second because the print head is light enough and the Bowden extruder is taking taking mass away from the actual extruder head. I'm hoping that I can get up to 200 plus millimeters per second. I'm going to do a benchy at 120, which will take me about an hour. And if that works, I'll bump it up to 200. And if that works, I'll continue to go higher in the speed until I reach a point where the benchy is no longer gaining or losing time in the print. So there's, again, as I said at the onset of this, there's two main reasons for me doing this. Number one, my head from nose to back of neck is somewhere around 11 inches. And the current printer that I have is a 9 by 9 by about 8.5. And that just isn't conducive to printing out things in less, for my head size, in less pieces than at least 8. And that ends up causing me issues because PLA and PETG both shrink, as well as ABS. All three of those type of filaments shrink when you're actually printing them. Actually, I'm sorry, after you're printing them. And so when you try to put them together, you end up with gaps. And while it is possible to use Bondo or some other type of filler primer when dealing with them afterwards, it just would be nice to have only one seam to consider when you're doing that. And that's why I've made this giant printer that's 16 by 16 by, I'm thinking it's about 12. And the main reason that that is less than what it should be is because the actual print head that I'm using, the actual extruder that I'm using, is an old printer bot extruder. And those of you that have been around 3D printing for a while know that the printer bot extruder had no active cooling on the extruder head. I'm sorry, on the extruder body. The extruder head had active cooling. It is a ceramic print head. Now, depending on what happens and depending on how successful I am with this particular printer, and hopefully I will be, I may move on to a E3D extruder head or some other type of known good Bowden extruder and replace the printer bot old print head with that. But other than that, again, hopefully you'll see a video, a vlog from me on Sunday that will contain a printout of a Benchy and other things that I've been able to print on this, on the Hyperactive Hypercube. But again, if you have any suggestions on where to get like things like the spring steel build plate, aside from Wham Bam, because they want $160 for the size that I need, or anything else as far as how I'm constructing this build, please let me know. I have gone through about 100 different variants from the Z axis lead screw holder to the actual Z smooth rod holders and Z, X, and Y gantry motors, because I've made changes to this based on either mistakes I've made while ordering or simply what I had available to me. Like I said, my main things for upgrades are a new hot end, the flex steel build plate so that I can take it off the build plate and flex it and get the print off, or anything else that anyone who's actually built one of these Core XY printers could come back and say, hey, Mike, you're missing this, that, or the other idea. I'd really appreciate it. Hope that you're staying safe and staying healthy in this time of COVID. And we will talk with you later. Have a great night.